5. This aircraft to our right that you're looking at is a Northrop F-5 Freedom Fighter. I believe it was built right here in Northrop, and this particular one was sold to the King of Norway, or the Norwegian Air Force, and you can see the Norwegian markings on the side of the fuselage. Jerry, tell us a little bit about the F-5.
Well, the F-5 is basically a converted T-38. You can see this is where the instructor used to sit. It's now the fighter's cockpit. And where the student used to sit, we put in two 20-millimeter cannons. So it's basically the same outside as a T-38, with the exception of the single canopy.
For those of you that were here for our holiday parade back in December, I got the unique opportunity to taxi this aircraft down Hawthorne Boulevard.
Wow.
The kids were pretty impressed, and it's a pretty impressive airplane. We had it in front of the police station for a brief time, and the kids were able to sit in it, and they loved it. And this airplane is supersonic as well.
That's right. It goes about 1.4 Mach number.
Okay. And for larger airplanes, what kind of missions would a plane like this fly?
Well, primarily attack missions where they would drop bombs, but it's also a fighter. It could engage in aerial combat. And as a matter of fact, a version of this airplane is used by the Navy Top Gun Squadron and the Air Force Aggressor Squadron. They use it as a simulated enemy aircraft, and they fight against this. And many times this wins.
And this was built right here in Hawthorne.
That's built right here in Hawthorne.
And you were part of this. You were on the project team that engineered this aircraft.
That's right. Very interesting. Very thrilling.
You've seen a lot of things in the last many years. Behind us is the YF-23, and that's probably the biggest, most powerful of all of them.
Yes, this is one step beyond the YF-17. The YF-17 was built for the Air Force. It was then adopted by the Navy, called the Hornet, and the Hornet served in the Gulf War. We're now building what we call the Super Hornet, which is a larger and faster version. This airplane, compared to the YF-17, is like a 50,000-pound airplane instead of a 40,000-pound airplane. And it's a very stealthy airplane. And the significant thing about it is it can actually fly supersonic on what we would call overdrive power. It is what they call super cruise, supersonic cruise.
And that means no afterburners to maintain supersonic speed.
But it doesn't need it to fly supersonically. And that, again, is about 1,500 miles an hour ground speed.
And again, you were part of the team that designed this.
Yes, I was very active in this design of the airplane.
What would you call the tail section on this aircraft?
Well, we call it a flying tail. The entire surface moves, and it contributes both to up and down control, and also it helps the airplane to roll.
It's a very different looking design.
Yeah. It's designed primarily for stealth.
And this is also a twin jet powered aircraft?
Twin jet airplane, yeah.
And this has a pilot and co-pilot?
Just one pilot.
Just one pilot again.
And a very sophisticated computer control system.
We're really pretty lucky to have as many Northrop aircraft as this all in one place for the public to see.
That's right.
And again, this is happening
Northrop Field.
At Jack Northrop Field, Hawthorne Municipal Airport.
Right.
We're not quite finished yet. We have something special here today. We're going to go see the F-20. This is an F-20 Tiger Shark jet-powered aircraft. It's a fighter plane that was originally designed to be sold to foreign countries. Jerry's not sure what to say about it, but he's told me a lot about it. This is one of only 3 remaining aircraft which is on loan here from the California Science Center at Exposition Park. It used to be the Science and Industry Museum. This plane was researched and developed by Northrop Corporation at a cost of about $2 billion.
That's right. Northrop money.
All Northrop money, no taxpayer money. And you were part of the project engineer team on this as well.
Right.
Now, you had said earlier to me that you thought this airplane was this one flies at about 1.9 Mach?
1.9, yeah.
So this is sufficiently faster than some of the faster aircraft we saw earlier.
It is, and it's a very maneuverable airplane, and Chuck Yeager was very instrumental in the design of this airplane. He was hired by Northrop as a consultant. So this airplane also has Chuck Yeager's fingerprints all over it.
Has Chuck Yeager's fingerprints all over it. This aircraft was a single jet-powered engine.
Single engine.
And
It had the same power as more than two engines, yeah, in the F-5.
so the F-5 has roughly 8,000 pounds of thrust with two engines,
Yes.
and this has roughly 12,000
this
pounds of
has roughly
thrust
12, yeah.
with one engine.
One engine.
So this was quite an aircraft.
It's quite an aircraft. Chuck Yeager said it was the best fighter in the world as far as he was concerned.
And yet, because of, as a matter of politics, it just never went anywhere as far as being produced and sold.
It was a matter of politics. The politics were in favor of some other airplane, so this never got produced.
Well, this is a really unique opportunity to have all these Northrop planes in one place. What's sitting here today is a lot of history of how various wars and battles were fought around the world. And like I said earlier, this particular airplane will only be here while they do seismic retrofits to the museum in Los Angeles. So we're very fortunate to have this here today. And matter of fact, speaking of fingerprints, I think every airplane here has your fingerprints all over it as well.
I think so.
The one that's behind us that says U.S. Navy Blue Angels, what is that one?
That's an airplane that was built by Douglas in El Segundo, and it served on the carriers for many years. It was called the Bantam, and it was a good little fighter, but it's subsonic. It only flies about maybe 500 miles an hour, but it served a lot in the Navy.
Maybe we can walk over and take a closer look at it. So this is one of the only airplanes here that you don't have your fingerprints on.
Right, this was designed and built by the Douglas Aircraft Company in El Segundo. Became a very popular Navy airplane in the mid-50s, but eventually it got outdated. It's only about a 500-mile-an-hour airplane, but it did serve well in the Navy.
We were told earlier today that this airplane was never actually flown by the Blue Angels, that this was painted, this scheme, for a calendar shot some years back at this museum. So this airplane was originally a different color, and I understand the museum's going to restore it with its original markings.
You know, they called this airplane the Bantam because it is a very small airplane. It's probably the smallest airplane that could be designed to serve on a carrier as a fighter.
Now, would this airplane have to land with a hook?
Yes, it has an arresting hook on the back, and it's launched from the carrier by a catapult that fastens on the underside of the fuselage. The F-18, in contrast, has a dual nose gear, and the catapult hook actually grabs onto the nose gear and throws the airplane off the end of the carrier.
And hopefully it keeps flying from there.
It does. The pilot goes, believe it or not, hands off during the launch.
Really?
Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All the aircraft that are here at the museum are available for public inspection. The museum is completely self-supported. They ask for a donation of $3 for adults and I believe $2 for children. And that while the F-20 is here, would be a good time to come see it for yourself because it's one of the rare opportunities you'll have to get this close to it, actually. So we would invite the public to come out and have a look and see all the aircraft that are here. Inside the museum, which has been completely redone over the last year or so, things are a lot more organized than they used to be, and you can see quite a bit.